Good evening. I see I have a comment already saying the movie Claus has the best Santa portrayal. I actually haven't seen that one. That's a film that I keep meaning to get around to seeing, but I never quite do. So, as you can see, I'm not out at the fire pit this evening. It's one of those nights where it can't make up its mind if it's going to go ahead and rain properly or not. So, it's just kind of spitting down. And anything involving electronics, that makes me nervous enough that I'm not going to go outside. So, I thought we'll have a tree side fairy tale, and I'll just sit here comfortably and share this with you. And as I mentioned in the description for this stream, this is an apology stream. I had meant to put in the date for last night, and I noticed just as I was going live, oh my gosh, I've put the wrong date. So I didn't want to let those of you down who had planned to tune in on Saturday. And so here we are. And luckily for you, I have just finished my translation of Die Wichtelmänner, or it's most commonly known in English as The Elves and The Shoemaker. But, the translation is really interesting because Die Wichtelmänner, if any of you are native German speakers, I would love to hear you chime in on these thoughts because, again, I'm coming at this as a native English speaker, but that's not a word that I would translate as elves. I kind of felt after looking at a bunch of different ideas that the gnomes is probably better. These are creatures that fall into that broad spectrum of Germanic creatures that you could think of as like elves or dwarves. These are smaller than humans, and they're incredibly clever and extremely smart and very, very gifted in the art of making literally anything. So they tend to have long fingers and be very clever. And these are beings that can help you or hurt you or ignore you depending on your behavior. And in this story, they have chosen someone to help, presumably because he's good. It's never actually said in this story, like why they decided to help him. But you can guess that it's like because he's a good, virtuous man and they have this compulsion to make things. It's just in their nature. So they decide to help him by making things for him. This story was first printed in the 1812 version of Grimm's Tales. It was one of the earliest stories, and it's usually lumped in with two others, but this one is by far the most famous, and it's been adapted many, many times. The reason why I'm reading it to you tonight is because the end of the story takes place just a few days before Christmas, and since that's where we are, I thought you'd enjoy this. So please get very comfortable, and please enjoy Die Wichtelmänner, also known as The Elves and the Shoemaker, or as I would title it, The Gnomes. It was that a shoemaker had become so poor through no fault of his own that at last he had nothing left but enough leather for a single pair of shoes. I think it's interesting that the story points out immediately that he's a good man and he's just had bad luck. And you can have a lot of moral debates over this is should you help someone even if they don't deserve it, right? And that can get really complicated. Like even if they're ungrateful, even if they've put themselves in this bad situation because of their own mistakes. So this story widely sidesteps that. This is a good man. He deserves help. We don't have to have the moral argument over should you help someone who just keeps messing up and won't get their act together. That evening, he cut the leather so he could work on the shoes the next morning. Because his conscience was clear, he went to bed calmly, prayed to God, and fell asleep. It's easy to be cynical about this kind of piety, and there were people even back in 1812 who would have rolled their eyes at that, like, oh, we get it, we're supposed to say our prayers. But for the most part, people really would have been sincere about that kind of piety. In the morning, after he had said his prayers and was about to sit down to work, he saw the shoes on his table fully finished. He stood in wonderment and didn't know what to say. He took the shoes in his hands to take a closer look at them. They were so cleanly crafted that not a single stitch was wrong. The shoes were made like a masterpiece. Soon after, a shopper showed up. He liked the shoes so much that he paid more than usual for them. I always imagined, even as a kid, when I heard this story, that the shopper knew the shoemaker was a decent guy, and the extra money was a way for him to, like, help out without causing embarrassment, because it can be very hard to accept charity. I'm sure we've all been in a situation where we had to either ask for help or allow someone to help us, and even though we shouldn't, it's really common to feel shame over accepting charity. So, maybe this was a way for this guy to give the shoemaker some money and give him a little bit of a financial bump while making it seem like, well, I'm paying you, so this isn't like, you don't have to feel embarrassed about this. You're being paid. With the money, the shoemaker was able to buy enough leather to make 2 pairs of shoes. He cut out the pieces in the evening and was very eager to get to work in the morning. But he didn't need to do a thing, for when he got up, the shoes were all done. And there was no shortage of shoppers who left him with enough money to buy leather for 4 pairs of shoes. Early the next morning, he found the 4 pairs finished. And so it went. The leather he cut out in the evening was finished by morning. Soon the shoemaker had a good income again, and at last he became a wealthy man. Now, one evening, not long before Christmas, when the man had finished cutting the leather, he said to his wife as they were going to bed, "How about we stay up tonight and see who's been lending us a helping hand?" I really like this because we can see that the shoemaker and his wife are good people. They're now in a position where they don't need charity anymore. They're doing fine. They're back on their feet. And so this is a good lesson where, if you go through a crisis time in your life, if something's hard, things aren't going right, and you get some help and you get back on your feet, that's when you need to start looking around and kind of reassessing the situation. So you can see that they're doing that. They're making good choices. The woman agreed and lit a candle. Then they hid in the corners of the rooms behind where their clothes were hanging and kept watch. When it was midnight, 2 cute little naked men came. It's not a sentence I ever thought I would read out loud, but there you go. 2 cute little naked men. They sat before the shoemaker's table, took up the work that had been cut out, and began to stitch, sew, and tap with their little fingers so nimbly and quickly that the shoemaker couldn't tear his eyes away. He was so amazed. One thing that got lost in the translation is this story actually has some really, really nice bits of rhythm and alliteration. So the sentence where it says began to stitch, sew, and tap, it's the word zu stechen, zu nähen, zu klopfen. And it has this like nice amplifying rhythm to it. And I wish there was a way to render that in English, but there just isn't. They didn't let up until all was done and standing ready on the table. Then they quickly sprang away. The next morning, the woman said, "The little men have made us rich. We should show them that we are thankful. They walk around with nothing on. They must be freezing. You know what? I'll sew little shirts, coats, doublets, and breeches for them, and knit each of them a pair of stockings. You should make each of them a little pair of shoes." This was another tricky paragraph to translate because I came across the word rock, R-O-C-K, rock, and it was, in the dictionary, it's skirt. That's the modern sense of the word. But a couple hundred years ago, that could have meant any kind of outer garment, like a gown or a robe or a coat. So I chose to translate the word as coat because when I was looking at the list of clothes that she was giving them, and also because she didn't want them to be cold, I thought that made the most sense. But I could have translated that word as to be like anything from like a waistcoat to a loose fitting outer gown. But yeah, I chose coat. The man said, "That sounds perfect to me." In the evening, when all was ready, they laid the gifts on the table instead of the cutout leather. Then they hid and waited to see what the little men would do. At midnight, they came bounding up, ready to get straight to work. But when they found lovely clothes instead of cutout leather, at first they were bewildered, but then they showed great joy. They dressed themselves with the greatest speed, smoothing the beautiful clothes on their bodies and singing, "Sind wir nicht Knaben glatt und fein? Was sollen wir länger Schuster sein?" And that literally translates to, "Aren't we boys so smooth and fine? Why should we be shoemakers any longer?" But in most translations of this, especially for children, you try to do it in a way that preserves the rhyme because you have fine and sign that rhyme in the original text. So it'd be something like, "Aren't we boys so fine and neat? Why should we make shoes for others' feet?" I think is one that I've heard several times. Then they hopped and danced and sprang over chairs and benches. At last, they danced out the door. From then on, they never came back. But the shoemaker prospered as long as he lived, and all he undertook was successful. So, this story shows how charity is supposed to work in an ideal world where the shoemaker legitimately needed help. It doesn't say how he fell on hard times, but just that he did. It's something that could happen to anyone. It's not shameful if you just have a run of bad luck, you get ill. Times get hard, someone else gets ill. That can really hold you back in your career. And the best kinds of charity that I've seen is done quietly and without any sort of expectation of recognition or reward. And the gnomes in this story are doing that. They're just showing up, being useful, and they clearly didn't expect anything in return. It sounds like we have some comments. What comments do we have, producer Chloe?
Someone commenting, complimented your tree and your German.
Oh, well, Dankeschön. And you can thank my children for the tree because they decorated it. It's a beautiful chaos tree. They just threw everything on it. I'm not a native speaker of German, and I do try to do right by the language. I learned German at first by being a choir geek and sang a lot of, sang a lot in German, and it's impossible not to start learning some of the language. I think singing is actually the best way to improve your accent in a foreign language because you have to be so precise when you're singing the way you form like your vowels or not lingering too long on harsher sounds, things like that. So it really helps you learn to shape your mouth a little better. I will say I wouldn't call myself fluent in German at all. Like I would struggle to have a conversation, especially if someone was speaking really fast or using a lot of slang. I haven't had a lot of opportunity to have like natural conversations, but thank you for thinking my German's good enough to pass for you. So yeah, anyway, I've always really loved that story. It's just a good example of the right way to do charity. And I like that it's at Christmas time because this is a time of year that we're all supposed to be thinking about being kind to others and what we can do. And so it's the kind of story that can make us think like, gosh, is there someone that I could be, you know, an elf to? Who can I play Santa to in a way where maybe they'll even never know it was me and it'll just lighten their load a little bit and they'll have a nice time. So if you can think of any of examples of that, I would love to hear of that, something that you witnessed in your life or something that you got to be a part of. I wanted to show you my copy of The Elves and the Shoemaker. I'll hold that up so you can see it. It is, unfortunately, this version is out of print. It was adapted by a writer named Freya Littledale, and the pictures are by Brenton Turkle, who's an illustrator that I quite like. This one is so fun because it has a slightly more Scandinavian look to the clothing, but that's okay, even though this was a story originally collected in Germany. I'll try to hold that so you can actually see it. So you can see there's the little elves in their clothes. There's just really nice energy in the pictures. Also, there's nice symmetry to it as well. So this is the beginning of the story where the shoemaker is very poor, and you can see him and his wife sitting there. And then at the end of the book, you get this exact same shot, and you can see the difference where they're no longer slouching. They no longer look sad. You can see that there's more things in the room, like, you can see how materially everything is better, and they're having a nice meal. So I just like so many things about this. Oh, this is a nice one too, where you can see them coming to get their things, and you can see the husband and wife hiding in the closet and looking very happy because they're grateful, and they wanted to return the favor to the people who had done so much for them. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that story. And, for I'm not sitting by the fireside, so I can't do a marshmallow, but what I can do while we finish up with any questions that you guys have is we had a cookie making party here yesterday, and there were a bunch of kids decorating cookies. And I have to say, I was pleased because there was a lot less frosting and sprinkles on the floor than I expected there to be. So that was a nice surprise. I did not have a lot of time to say make cookies from scratch. So if you want an easy recipe for Christmas cookies, I recommend cake box cookies. Go and get a cake box, put the mixture in the bowl, 2 eggs, and between 1/3 to 1/2 cup of butter or cooking oil. And that's it. They mix up really fast. If you make them a little more buttery or oily, they'll cook flatter like this, and then they're good for decoration. If you use less, they'll be a little more fluffy. We have another question. Producer Chloe.
The same person who complimented your tree and your German says these live streams are fantastic. Please do more of them after the holidays.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. That's actually my plan. So that was one thing I wanted to tell everyone about the show is that, I started this show as an audio podcast during lockdown to help parents who were suddenly homeschooling, and then obviously that sort of format wasn't needed anymore. But I've wanted to do more to engage with people, but I have to admit I was a little scared of live streaming because it just feels like a lot of pressure and a lot can go wrong and like, oh, what if I don't know what I'm doing? This is all very new. As you can tell by the fact that I messed up by putting the wrong date on last night's live stream. It was just like, oh, what a boneheaded rookie mistake. But I feel like this is a way for us to actually have some conversations, and then what I can do is edit the live streams into regular episodes that will maybe go out the following Monday. But another comment?
Someone says, congrats on the lives, really interesting.
Well, thank you very much. I hope so. And that's my goal, and I definitely welcome feedback. I wanted to thank the person who commented on last night's stream. I think it was just because I was flustered, or I don't know what was going on with my head. I said something absolutely ridiculous. I'd said that it was the Dutch who first traded in Japan when it was the Portuguese. So I've pinned that person's comment, and I'm very grateful for that correction. I'm never going to get upset about being corrected. I was speaking off the cuff, and I think my brain just I don't know. Anyway, I made a mistake, so I was glad to correct that. And if that happens in the future, please speak up. What's next?
The same person who commented your tree and your German and said that the live streams are fantastic said on subject of the story there was a funny cartoon of the story of the Elves and the Shoemaker that used to play on Saturday morning cartoons when I was a child.
Really? What country? So I've heard that there was an Elves and the Shoemaker cartoon on Saturday morning cartoons. So was that in the United States? Because I mean, I didn't know Saturday morning cartoons were a thing in other countries. I'm a little bit sad now. Streaming has ruined the concept of Saturday morning cartoons. I've tried to explain it to my kids that on Saturday mornings, there is this like sacred couple of hours where the deal between you and your parents were they got to sleep in and you got to go get a giant bowl of cereal and sit in front of the TV and watch Schoolhouse Rock and She-Ra, or I mean, that's what I was watching. You can tell me what you were watching. But those Saturday morning cartoons, that was magic time when it was yours. Your bowl of cereal, your cartoons. It was kid magic, but like these days because of streaming, kids can just watch whatever they want whenever they want. And I've explained this to my kids and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, that's so sad. You mean you just couldn't binge watch 8 episodes of Paw Patrol in a row?" And it's like, "No, no, you either saw the show or you didn't. And if you missed it, you didn't get to talk about it with your friends the next day at school." So you really, really valued the times when you could just watch your cartoons, huh? Did we have any other comments this evening or questions?
Well, we have someone who said, "Should I compliment you more? I'm trying to stick to books, music, and literature." And then the person who complimented your tree says, "I am in Minnesota, USA."
Oh, okay. Oh, how interesting. I'll have to look that up. Huh, so in Minnesota. Interesting. There were a lot more local TV networks back then, so maybe it was a regional thing because I was out in California, but yeah, we didn't get that. But I will definitely be looking that up. So thanks for the tip. Yeah, and no, I don't need too many compliments. It makes me feel embarrassed anyway. So don't worry about it. Let's just have fun. Yeah. Um, And as always, during this season, if any of you are panicking and need a recommendation for a book to buy for someone, I'm happy to help. You could ask me here, you can hit me up on social media, drop me an email at letters@children'sliteraturepodcast.com. But I think that's probably about it for this evening, unless there's any other questions. Next week, I'll be doing the last live stream of the year, and I'll try to figure out if that will be Friday or Saturday. This will be the last one, and then I want to take a few weeks off just to, the holidays, it's very busy. Next week, I will be doing Christmas carols, and that's why I've been collecting examples of Christmas carols sung wrong. So I want to know, when you were a kid, did you misunderstand the lyrics and sing them wrong, or is there a Christmas carol that you deliberately sung wrong? And I want to know what it was. So keep sending those in. I've gotten some really funny ones, and there's room for plenty more. So send those in. And we had another question, producer Chloe.
We have two last comments, and then I think we can wrap up. Three comments.
Okay, three comments.
Warm memories watching Fillmore on Saturday morning. The second one is, are you making any New Year's resolutions? And then the third comment, fourth, is the cartoon is on YouTube. It was made in 1935. Just do a search and you'll find it. And then Freedom Tunes has a PC Christmas carols.
Okay, so that was a lot. So what was the first one?
Warm memories watching.
Oh, yes.
Fillmore.
Yes. So yeah, warm memories of watching Saturday morning cartoons. Same. And then the next one was about New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
So I am sometimes a bit obstreperous in my own way, where I don't do New Year's resolutions because, personally, I'm not saying that you shouldn't. If it works for you, go for it. Do it. I have always felt that if I actually wanted to do something, I would start doing it now. And I wouldn't say, well, I'm going to spend the next few weeks doing things that I know that aren't good for me. And then in a few weeks at an arbitrary date, then I'll start doing the things that will actually make me happy and give me what I want. If I actually want to make a positive change in my life, I'm going to do it now, because otherwise I'm if I give myself permission to like go on for a few more weeks doing something that I know is not good for me, I'm really not ready to make that change anyway. So that might sound a little cynical, and I don't fault anyone, because I know for other people, like intentionally starting off on something new, something that's going to help you achieve what you want or be happy. I've seen that work great for people, and I'm very, very happy for them. It just doesn't work for me, so no, I don't do them. If I want to do something better for myself, I better start now. And if I don't, it means that I'm not ready to do what it takes to have that thing that I want. Do you have a comment?
No, but I think your New Year's resolution should be to go to a luxury hotel for the weekend and do whatever you want.
Oh, okay. Producer Chloe says, my New Year's resolution should be to go to a luxury hotel for a weekend and do whatever I want. That sounds awesome. I don't know if that's necessarily a resolution so much as a daydream, but I'll take it.
It's something that you can do in the New Year's.
It is something I could do in the new year. We'll see if that ever happens. Were there any comments or questions to wrap it up?
Well, there was the person talking about the cartoon saying it's on YouTube. It's made in 1935.
Okay.
Do a search.
I will look up that cartoon on YouTube and watch it.
Tunes has PC Christmas carols.
PC Christmas carols. Oh, I think I've heard some of those before. Yeah, send me those. Yeah, if you have a link, drop that in there. That would be very funny. So yeah, next week we'll just be giggling and singing Christmas carols wrong. It'll be a little bit silly, probably be a little bit messy, but we'll have some fun. So I hope to see you all then. Thank you so much for tuning in. I apologize once again for messing up, but I hope the Elves and the Shoemaker made it up to you. And we have one last comment.
Someone said, oh, one more. Is there a Penteron or something? I don't know how to say it.
Is there a what? Can I see? Is there a Pateron? I don't know that word.
What does it mean, person
who
said that?
What does Pateron mean? I don't know what that means. I will look it up. Okay. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I will see you next week, and I'll have some more fun videos that I'm going to be dropping over the next week. If you're going to be traveling and you need something to keep kids quiet in the car, I will have some stories and things. So hopefully you can entertain them without them staring at a screen all day because that's not terribly good for them. Although on those long journeys, you just got to do whatever it takes to survive. So, anyway, thanks so much to all of you for tuning in, and I will see you soon.